Coming up in today's episode, we talk all things Wimbledon. Did you know the Wimbledon winners take home £3 million in prize money, and yet a player ranked 150th can't even afford their own lunch?
We're going to be talking about the wild economics of tennis. You probably hear the word tennis or Wimbledon and think money, money, money. It is very lucrative at the top, but it's also super brutal at the bottom for some players. So we're going to talk about lots of different angles to do with Wimbledon and money, and actually how some tickets are now genuinely considered investments.
$124 trillion is about to change hands, and 70% of that is going to the hands of women.
We're going to dive into how, why, and the fact that nobody saw it coming. This is The Curve Weekly, where we read the finance news so that you don't have to.
I'm Vic Harris, a finance professional who has had a career making money for other people.
And I'm Sophie Hallwright, ex-TV radio producer who was really exhausted with not understanding anything to do with money or the economy. So we started this podcast.
But before we dive into the headlines, here's a word from today's sponsor.
Strong returns in 1 year, I mean, you could say luck, but strong returns over 10 years, that's a track record. Find out more about Generate's 10-year track record and see their disclosures in the show notes. Remember though, track record does not guarantee future returns.
Welcome everyone. This is our first Wednesday episode.
I know.
Wow.
It's one of those things that we've been talking about, I would say, behind the scenes, off mic, and also publicly for like an embarrassingly long time.
So I hope people are listening.
We did a vote ages ago when we first talked about the idea of doing two Curve Weeklies, and we said, what would you prefer, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday? Like there were so many different options, because we've now done a podcast, did you know, for 6 years.
Gosh, how are we still talking?
I don't know, but we've released one on Monday and Thursday consistently for 3.5 years.
Wow.
So swapping is high stakes. If no one's listening
Oh my gosh,
to this.
people are going to jump in on Thursday.
I know, it's problematic.
Shit.
So this is a massive PSA. So Mondays is going to be our Curve Weekly. Wednesdays is going to be the Curve Weekly. And now we've kicked out our Raising the Curve episodes that used to be on a Thursday to Friday.
Do we put one out on Thursday saying, hey guys,
good idea.
It went out yesterday.
Yeah.
Just for all those dedicated Thursday,
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Okay.
Love that.
God.
Genius. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
So the reason that we are I was about to say upping the stakes, upping the ante. It's so funny when we were first planning the Curve Weekly many, many years ago, back when we were little babies, we promised that the episodes would be 10 minutes long.
Yes.
And they were...
I do remember that.
Yeah, actually it was mainly because you were like, I cannot do a weekly podcast. There's no way. And I was like...
You wanted to do daily, I remember. And I was like, is she gone bananas? I was just like, how do I tell Sophie this is the most ridiculous idea ever? But
yeah,
thankfully.
well, anyway. So
yeah, we got to weekly.
The in-between was that we said that we would do 10-minute episodes. They'd be quick, they'd be snapping. The problem was we've opened a bit of a can of worms, because there is a reason that most men are obsessed with reading the FT, and it's because there's so much that happens in the world of the economy. I was trying to explain it to someone the other day. I can't remember who it was, but I could just see her eyes glazing over when I was saying that the podcast is about the economy, investing, stock market. She was like, and I was like, no, I promise it's interesting. And then, do you know how I pitched it? I said, I like to think of it as almost like the Real Housewives of the economy. Like for me, it's almost a TV show. I get quite addicted to knowing like who's done what's happening here.
Nice.
Who's suing someone for $10 billion. And then she was like, okay, when you say it like that, I'm kind of into it.
It's funny, like even at events and people like will put their hand up and go, so like where can I get information on, finance and like investing news? And I'm like, our podcast. Like,
I know.
It's quite like, yeah, it's the best source. I mean, I know I'm a bit biased, but it is the best source of information.
Like, we've been building a platform behind the scenes, like to make sure that we're as research as possible, to, like subscribe to every platform that exists to make sure we're reading all the stories, making sure that what you get delivered in the Curve Weekly is the most important, the most interesting, and actually relevant to our audience, because there's so much stuff that gets reported in places like the FT where I'm just like falling asleep listening to it or reading it.
I reckon I could make any headline interesting for our audience.
Guys, I've had an idea. Let's totally pitch that. We'll tell her the headline Sorry, I'm talking to the producers. We'll read the headline and you have to rework it into something that sounds exciting.
Interest rates, bonds, give me the most boring thing. I reckon I could find a good angle.
I actually agree with you. I totally agree. That's actually such a fun idea. I love that. So anyway, we've been looking to make sure that we're getting all of the news from all the right places. And actually, it's quite hard to find any good platforms. Like some are really intense looking at like, I don't know, investment ideas. Some are really intensely looking at interest rates. There's not really a lot that then also includes things that are interesting, like some of the stuff we'll talk about today. So, you can trust us for your finance news.
We look high and low.
We really
West
do.
to east, north to south.
Yes, we're
to find you the news.
Combing the news that will be important for your wallet and your investment. So today, we're very excited, our first ever Wednesday episode. And before we get into it, Vic, we have some very exciting news. So this is, I'm not sure if we're being punked or pranked because this feels like it's too good to be true. But apparently we've made the shortlist for the British Podcast Awards. Ooh. Isn't that crazy?
Nice.
No, I need a better reaction than that. That's
huge. Yeah.
This is
Love that.
Woo! No, but like for context, some of these podcasts are like, neither of us, sorry, for anyone that's not watching, we don't have bras on today. And all of a sudden I felt it was very obvious for both of us.
I don't know why.
Vic just did like a fist pump and there was a lot of movement.
This is very off-brand for me, but yeah.
Yeah, you don't normally not wear a bra.
No.
Suits you. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Basically, we are going to be able to vote for ourselves, and we would really love for you to vote for us too.
We'll be voting for ourselves multiple times.
Yeah, but even being a finalist is kind of amazing. So if you see us flogging the fact that we did make the British Podcast Awards, whether it's on our newsletter or socials, would highly appreciate a vote. Because this is huge. That would be so amazing if we won something.
Kiwi originated podcast going global.
God, it
now
would be so
British,
good.
Aussie, New Zealand,
watch us go. Okay,
global domination. What is it? Oh my God, bring it on.
Oh my God, maybe we have to do a dance to get people to vote for us, and it's the bring it on.
Prepare for global domination.
Oh, it's Spirit Fingers Guy. Oh my God.
So when I said it, I was like, oh my God, that's bringing like hallmarks of, sorry, wow.
Okay, wow.
Tangent.
We'll brainstorm how we'll get your votes, but if you could all just vote when you see it, that would be great.
Yeah. Did you want to do Yes, so talking about combing the news, we didn't really have to comb too far for this one.
No,
we combed our backyard.
Yeah. I mean, Vic was on the ground. She was a live reporter. Would you put this through as tax? A tax bag?
Of course.
How much was the ticket?
Tax write-off, yeah.
I must
It was actually only £70 because I got it in the ballot.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So I'm talking about Wimbledon, by the way.
Yes. So for anyone that did miss, her stunning outfit to Wimbledon, it was very chic.
Hey,
quickly. I love that you wore those shoes, the brown ones. This is a good example of you can buy well and wear for a long time.
I bought those like years ago and never wore them, and now I like them and I wear them all the time.
But I love that. They've lasted, I would say, 8 years, perhaps.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And they're finally getting a tour out to Wimbledon. Anyway,
yes. I got my ticket in the ballot. I've put my name in the ballot for the last 7 years across like 3 emails, and it's so hard to get tickets to Wimbledon, and got pulled out of the ballot, and my sister was visiting, and I was like, it's so a sign. Went to Wimbledon, and I was like, I see some financial angle here.
Yeah.
So yes.
So, okay, I am not going to pretend to know a huge amount about Wimbledon other than tennis players, very fit.
Very hot.
Very hot. Paid a lot of money.
Yes.
The events and the games feel like influencer events. And lastly, it's in London. So I would say that is the extent of my Wimbledon knowledge.
Yes, okay. Yes, it is one of the most quintessential British sporting events. It is one of the Open, so you've got the French Open, US Open, Australian Open, your Wimbledon, it is one of the biggest tennis tournaments. It's got this weird structure where it is like, it's so hard to get a ticket, but then they provide tickets that you can queue up for, and you can get like ground passes. So it's like, it makes like some tickets are up to like nearly £400,000.
Are you serious?
Yes, yeah. And then you can
Where
buy.
Where are you? On the court? Like,
are you the ball?
I'm like, what is happening? Are you the
You're probably sitting next to like Princess Catherine, and there's so many angles to the story, and I'm going to go through them. But yes, one of them is the popularity of not only live sporting events or live experiences, whether it be concerts, sports. You know, people are craving that post-COVID. People are also spending money on that because it's, yes, it's still expensive and it's entertainment, but it's not expensive as a holiday and things like that now, you know, and I'm not meaning Wimbledon, but like lots of other kind of sporting and entertainment events. Also, Gen Z and the involvement, like you said, with influencers, it's made it more, what's the word?
Cool.
More, they're reaching a younger audience that is now interested in sport.
Because I've also noticed this with Formula One. They've just paid so many influencers to go. Yeah. It's just everywhere.
But I must admit it's working.
Same.
Like, I know the Formula One drivers and...
Do you?
Lando Norris?
No. Should I?
Yeah.
Lando Norris. Belgian racing driver. Oh, God, he's sexy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, then I was like, to Flower Man, I was like, oh, and you know, I was like, she broke up with one of the Formula One players and she's now dating the number one tennis, you know, and he's like, why do you care and how do you know this? And then Taylor Fritz was playing Wimbledon. I was like, he recently broke up with his girlfriend, you know. Like,
Taylor Fritz, oh my God, I feel really out of the loop.
Sorry.
This is amazing. Oh, he's also hot. God, it's so unfair that these people are the most talented, fit people in the world.
Do you remember when I did the coin toss?
Oh my God. I was kind of embarrassed.
I know. I don't know why I did it. So for context, for anyone who hasn't heard this story, we got invited to the tennis tournament in Auckland. It's not like an open, it's not a big, but it is the biggest tournament in New Zealand. And I was doing a talk for one of the sponsors and then like a corporate talk to their clients about investing. And afterwards they were like, hey, do you want to do the coin toss to see who starts playing? And I was like, on the court? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, amazing. Little did I know this is usually reserved for like
6-year-olds.
Young kids that are like got their up and coming tennis players, and that's their like their
basically it's children. It's majority, I would say, under the age of 7 or 8, right? And I didn't know about this. I would like to say I feel like perhaps I would have been like, "What are you doing?" And then I saw it on television, and there's Vic kind of like scurrying across
in my corporate outfit, and it's like, and I was like, "No PR is bad PR. No PR is bad PR." And then they announced, they're like, and doing the coin toss today is Victoria Harris from financial education platform The Curve. And I was like, hey, well, that's, you know, on live television New Zealand, I was like, at least,
like,
yeah.
Nice. Who needs a PR agent?
Yeah. Anyway, so...
sorry, okay, wait, back to this.
Yes. So first thing we're going to discuss, the financial angle of Wimbledon, is that the most expensive ticket is nearly £400,000 and how that is actually an investment.
Nah? What? Because it's an investment. I don't know what that noise was, sorry.
So are you disagreeing with me?
No, I was like, what do you mean? The only thing I can think why that would be an investment is that you get to meet someone who then, I don't know, supports your business venture or something. You're like pitching for people. Or is it like you're investing in your social circle? Is that where you're going with it?
So a centre court ticket, so the most like the creme de la creme ticket is selling for $380,000, so nearly £400,000 to get a centre court ticket, which is absolutely crazy. And that's up from $116,000 2 years ago.
Is that because the All England Lawn Tennis Club, is it because they have access to sell those best tickets so they can kind of decide however much they want to price them at?
It's kind of they set up a structure essentially where and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but they needed debt to fund expansion of Wimbledon. And in doing that, people that lent them money got centre court tickets every year for 5 years. Now, those people have, some of them, there was only 2,500 tickets that they did that as part of their deal. And some of those people have on-sold those tickets because maybe they don't want to go every year for 5 years, and they're like, look, there's actually a lot of demand, so they've on-sold those tickets.
I mean, it's so clever.
And they've gone up, from 116,000 to nearly 400,000 in 2 years. That is such a good investment. If you had those tickets for 116,000 and now they're worth 400,000 and you sold that's 230% return that you've made, and because it's in the form of a ticket, you don't have to pay capital gains on that. Yes, it's an investment. It's like holding Taylor Swift tickets and say you got, I don't know, tickets to a concert every year for the next 5 years. And then by the end of, or throughout that period, she got super, super popular. You were like, actually, I don't want to sit on those tickets anymore. I'm going to sell them.
It's so clever from them. But the thing that I feel a bit like, I don't know, is it just like, because we've spoken so much on this podcast about whether or not it's okay to buy a ticket, say for Taylor Swift for £100 and then sell it for $700. It's kind of shit because it means that the main people who want to see her concert can't because they're priced out. Is there the same argument with this, or do you think because there's so many other tiers of tickets, it's kind of like, well, this is an investment, but you can also get tickets for lots of different prices? So,
and the key thing with Wimbledon is they do make it, they have these ground passes, which anyone can get, you can queue up for. So they do make it like, yes, there's these extreme tickets and premium seats, but there's also ground passes that you can get for like £30 essentially.
That's so clever. Yeah. Imagine if
they want it to be like for the people in like a British event and like so I quite like it that they've got like these two extremes. So like at what point does that become £30 and like £1 million? You know, like it will if the demand keeps going up. But also the other thing is the price discrepancy that the players have in these tournaments. It's outrageous.
Do you mean in terms of how much they earn?
How much they earn. Like,
this is so sad. And it's really interesting. I mean, your boyfriend obviously works in sports, so he sees this a lot, but particularly with tennis players. I mean, I don't know if you have any stats around some people who are playing in Wimbledon, but I imagine that there's probably players who are earning or like basically can't afford their life at all, but they're still playing in one of the biggest tournaments in the world.
A player, like say in the top 100 in the world, like they can earn, you know, really, really high annual salaries, including like prize money, etc. But in order to stay at the top, you have to actually spend a lot on having the best coaches, the best physio, you know, travel, you have a team, all of that. So it's actually like there's very thin margins in what you're earning in tennis in particular. And then also there was a story that I saw that this poor player was like, being in the top 100 in the world is like amazing, but this one player was like on 20,000 in debt just because he had to pay for his own hotel, his own food. Like,
what number was he in the?
I don't remember, but he was outside the top 100. So like,
but probably still pretty high, right?
Totally, and it's so hard because it's like if you don't have the right support or you can't afford, and I guess it's just like everything in the world, right? You know, if you can afford the best tutors or if you can afford the best education, you know, then you have
a leg up to win and do better in a tournament.
It's really sad that there's not, I guess, support for those kind of lower, all those players outside the top 100 that are just like losing money. But have you watched the movie Wimbledon?
No, I haven't seen it.
With Kirsten Dunst.
No, I've seen the Zendaya one.
Oh, yeah. And it highlights exactly this. There's this guy that's a wild card. He gets drawn to go to Wimbledon and he is literally like, you know, in the shittiest hotel, paying for everything himself. And whereas you've got these like super successful top player. Well, she's a top player. Anyway,
it's kind of like the match point with Zendaya as well, because there's that guy who's like sleeping in the car and eating really shit food, and he then tries to go to this tournament.
But yes, the challenges is the same.
Yeah. Oh, match point, just made up a film name. Cool.
Okay,
so that is like not an exaggeration. It's very much how it works. It's so weird because I look at something like, you know, SailGP, which is a new kind of almost thread in sailing.
Yeah.
And you look at it and it is you have to have so much wealth to go to them, to compete. But actually, I never really realised that there was so many industries within sport. It's not just something like sailing. You think about it, like skiing, tennis, like there's so many probably incredible players or people who would be incredible at a sport, but they just don't have the means to be able to get them there.
There's a lot of investment going into like the premiumization of sport right now, the luxury side of it. We're seeing it a lot with Wimbledon. We've seen it a lot with tennis. And you're right, sailing. Like there is a lot of sponsors are spending a lot on hospitality and, you know, really, really catering to the wealthy. And it is because there is such an increased demand in, like I was saying before, going to and having these experiences. And I think sport and entertainment and live events and everything, like all of that wrapped into one, is such an incredible investing trend that people are craving connection. They're craving being part of like something bigger, like sport. Like honestly, I don't know if it's just being in London or if it's in just this trend that I'm seeing of people wanting to get behind something. But we had like the Champions League, we've got the FIFA World Cup on at the moment. Like, I just feel like there's always something, and I'm rallying behind more sports than I ever thought I was.
I mean, I'm in North London and Arsenal is the team that everyone supports. It is so cute. People were like this 1-year-olds wandering around in their little Arsenal t-shirts. Everyone's in red.
Yeah.
People are yelling at each other in this really cute way. They've got like flares going. I mean, it is, I don't think I've ever felt that kind of intensity around sport and team camaraderie and togetherness. Like, even last night, I didn't realise there was an England game on, and our neighbours were just like absolutely yelling and making all this noise. I was like, God, they're annoying. What are they doing?
But even like,
and then I woke up and was like, oh, it was an England game. Like, that makes sense.
but even also all the artists that are touring, and like they're touring more and they're touring in more countries.
Oh,
and
so you mean beyond just sport? It's
yes,
just in
it's
general.
like people just want to feel things and experience things, and you know, we missed that for 3 years, and now we're catching up. But we're also, there's this whole trend of social media, wanting to be a part of it, wanting to be there, wanting to talk about it. And tennis is also chasing the next generation. You've seen a lot of wags, I don't know if you can call them that.
I was going to say, I don't know.
You've seen a lot of wives and girlfriends that, you know, are making bringing the fashion side to Wimbledon and to tennis and to F1, you know, highlighting that, and then there's sponsors that play into that, and they're having activation. So it's like, it's crazy what we're seeing, and like that's all because there's like a premiumization to it, and people are genuinely leaning into it. Yeah, and wanting to attend these events.
There's also Netflix shows and all sorts of media and stories that are becoming the groundswell around things like Formula One. So then you knowing about who's dating who and who wore this and whatever, it's like that's appealing to you.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much for some men, but there's different elements that I think they're trying to tap into. So it's not just the traditional audiences that are interested in sport particularly.
I think also one thing to highlight is the interest in women's sport as well. That, you know, yes, there's a big growing interest in sport and in entertainment, but just in sport in general. But within that, the growth in women's sport and the interest in women's sport is completely outpaced the overall sport interest. And the Women's Tennis Association TikTok went from like non-existent 2 years ago to now nearly a billion followers.
Whoa.
Like it's crazy. And that's from a younger generation. That's from way more interest, that leads to more sponsors, higher ticket prices, just everything.
I think overall this is amazing news for the world, for players, for sport, for everything. I think that the interest in sport brings people a lot of joy and a lot of connectedness, and I think that that's been missing for a lot of people. So overall, amazing. And I mean, getting behind more women supporting sport and being interested in it is so cool.
Totally.
Do you think that there is an investing angle here beyond, you know, we spoke about the seats being incredibly expensive and kind of essentially being investments. How can you actually invest? Can you invest in tennis or sports ETFs? Or like, if you're sort of seeing this as just a massive trend in general, and someone loves tennis and they're thinking, actually, I so agree with what you're saying, whether it's, I don't know, I know there's Formula One ways you can invest, blah, 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 but like this particularly, what can some of us look into for like ideas if we want to invest in this space?
A lot of the stadiums, for example, are listed companies.
So you could invest in the Wimbledon, could you invest in that business? No, it's private.
But a lot of the stadiums are listed, a lot of the ticket companies are invested. So there's like angles that you can do it. There's like online gambling ETFs, which we're not going to condone. It's more betting like angles, to be honest, because a lot of the sports teams and sports franchises aren't listed. Yeah. But it's more so just like being aware of like a big trend that's going on, and there's different ways that you could invest in it.
We've been trying to double down on our Substack lately, and there is, just because sometimes it's hard to get absolutely everything out in a podcast, if you haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, we'll put a link in the podcast show notes. It's really cool. It's kind of like a new platform where it's almost bloggy, websitey kind of, but we'll look into some of the angles when it comes to investing in sport. If this is something you're interested in, we'll put something out in the next few weeks. So you can subscribe to our Substack in the podcast show notes. Coming up after the break, we are going to be diving into the $124 trillion wealth transfer, which is about to happen. 124 trillion, no one heard that wrong. It's a huge amount of money that is going to be falling into the hands of women in the next little while, and it's the biggest handover of wealth that we've ever seen in the history of money.
I can't even comprehend $124 trillion, but most of that is actually going to the hands of women. So we're going to dig into why this is.
And also
wild.
Where is it coming from? I think that's the most interesting part. Like, I'm like, who is injecting money into my bank account? I'm so excited about
How do I line up? Where do I go?
But first, we've got a quick word from today's sponsor. Okay, so any KiwiSaver provider can have a good year. But how can you tell if they're a really good provider from the one that just got lucky? And honestly, that's consistency. A provider might be able to get a 20% return 1 year, but that could actually just come down to 1 or 2 investments performing unusually well, rather than a consistent investing skill. So what you want to look out for is if a fund performs over a long period of time. See Generate's performance and disclosures by using the link in the show notes. And thanks Generate for making this episode of the Curve Weekly possible. I would say this next story, Vic, and what we're about to talk about is perhaps your biggest, I was about to say your biggest, the thing you're most excited about in the world is the global wealth transfer.
Yes.
If there is a hill Victoria Harris is dying on, it's this hill. It is enormous what's happening. And I don't know, there's so many things that we're going to dig into today, but perhaps you could just give an overview as to why this particular thing, you've been talking about this for years.
And I think we've spoken about it in dribs and drabs on the podcast. That made it sound super interesting.
Well, it's more just like you see headlines about it, and there's people probably are aware, oh yes, there's this thing called the Great Wealth Transfer. And probably 2 years ago when we were planning and talking about what we wanted the curve to be, we were very aware of the stat because for the first time there is going to be more money in the hands of women that's we've ever seen. And it's actually surprisingly not what you think in terms of, oh, we've just earned more money. There's actually a whole lot of other things at play, which is what we're going to dig into now.
It should be called the Great Handover to Women, to be honest.
The biggest handout of all time?
Not hand out.
Yeah, okay.
Handover.
The biggest inheritance women have ever seen.
The biggest wealth transfer to women,
that was
essentially.
not original. That was basically the time.
Yeah, I know. Yes, you said this is probably the hill I die on or whatever.
I meant it in a positive way.
No, I know. But I feel like everyone's talking about AI. Oh my God, it's going to change the world. All these companies are going to benefit. Oh, these jobs are going to be lost. Oh, this is going to be, it's like, yes. But I'm like, hey guys, over here, there's something massive going on. And part of me is like, no, actually, you guys can focus on your AI. You focus on your AI.
We're kind of doing like a Donald Trump tactic.
Yeah.
We're just doing it while no one's watching.
Yeah. Everyone else invest over there because we're going to invest over here and we're going to be the biggest winners in terms of, we as in the collective woman, but also the curve. It's massive. And over the next 2 decades, that 124 trillion will be passed down from boomers to the next generation. And it's the biggest wealth transfer in history. And financial advisors are not ready, wealth managers are not ready, funds are not ready. All these investing products that have been around and ways of investing for years and years and years are now going to get the biggest shake up in history because all of those people that they previously spoke to, catered to, created products for, and invested were men. And now women are going to be controlling the majority of the wealth in the world.
Thank God. Honestly, thank bloody hell. Let's think about the fact that most of the time when women have money, they're philanthropic with it. It is really exciting to think that there is going to be, hopefully, some more empathetic decisions made with a huge amount of wealth in the world. And before we move on too much, I'm not sure if we're going to get totally slapped in the face for saying boomers, but if we just pause for a second and think, there's been, for a really long time, anyone that is not over the age of, let's say, 50, has kind of complained about a lot of things in terms of we've kind of been the generation that's been forgot about from a wealth accumulation standpoint, because a lot of us had parents that bought property for $2 that is now worth $2 million. And there's been this whole okay, well, you guys managed to do that, but now how do you expect us to follow in your footsteps? The fact that what we're saying in the next 2 decades is that essentially that generation will be dying and handing that money down. So I think we need to explain why so much of that is going to be going to women and not necessarily both men and women.
So women outlive men. In a traditional setup, when you've got a man and a woman, the man has been making those financial decisions or had the relationship with the financial advisor or the wealth manager. They pass away, that therefore gets transferred to the wife or to the partner who is traditionally a female. And then when that woman passes away, so say our mothers, then that goes into our hands. And so you've got this kind of double whammy, I guess, that's happening. And we haven't been spoken to in the finance industry. We've been the forgotten people, and now we're going, okay, cool. Now may have inherited this money, or now I'm in charge of this money, making financial decisions. And you've got, John over here, who's been the family financial advisor or the family accountant or whatever, that's been helping your parents with those decisions.
Bye, boys.
And you're like,
We're
hang on a second.
people.
John doesn't know how to deal with you because he's never had to deal with someone like you before.
Yeah, that's such a good point, actually.
You don't like John because you're
being spoken to in a weird way.
Yeah, and you don't understand. And he's like, well, I'm so used to speaking to your father or a different generation. And so you're like, hang on, I'm gonna go see if I want to change. And so you're gonna probably go choose someone else.
Without, basically reading between the lines, what we're saying is there are a lot of advisors or wealth managers or people in the financial world who have created products and services for men. And there's some crazy statistic. It's something like 90% of people who, when it changes hands in terms of the person in charge, they go to someone new. So there's this huge conversation, or no one's really having it, but basically a lot of women are all of a sudden going to have this control, and they're going to look around trying to find not a John, Nick or Sam. And it's are we thinking about that next generation? How can we cater to them, and how can we make sure that the financial products are making sense to them? They can speak to advisors if they want to, and it makes sense, and they like them. And there's a lot to that.
70% of widows fire their financial advisor within a year of their husband's death.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And that's not just disloyalty. It's them genuinely discovering their relationship was never with them. And now they've got the power to choose their own relationship. Of course, it is we're dealing with money. It's very intimate. It's very about trust and about relatability with the person. And so there is a need for that person and that relationship, for you to feel comfortable, essentially.
Yeah. My parents went through a phase where they were sort of trying to figure out what to do with some of their money. And it was quite interesting to be on the periphery and see the way that they were being spoken to and the conversations that they were having. I was like, wow, it's so not... even as someone who has worked in now investing in money for over 5 years, I didn't understand what was being spoken about. And I'm just like, God, it's such a missed opportunity, because if you have people that understand, they don't want to go and manage their money themselves. But for some reason, this concept of don't tell them too much or make it confusing makes people feel like they have the power and then they're never going to leave. But actually, most women make the opposite decision, where they're like, this is gibberish. I don't understand anything that you're saying.
It's also a younger generation that have been brought up with a lot more choice. There is crypto that we can invest in. There is trading platforms where you can buy any stock anywhere in the world, for $1. And our parents didn't have that, and so there is a lot more flexibility and choice and how you invest and being able to, I guess, control those decisions a bit more. And so there's a lot of change that needs to happen within the wealth management space, because when that money goes into the hands of women, there is not enough female financial advisors or young financial advisors or funds that target women or funds that speak to a younger audience for this money to go into. So these old archaic kind of investment houses like Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, like they're scrambling to be relatable, not only to a female audience, but a younger audience. And it's kind of coming back to things like sports. They're sponsoring sports that now target young people, and it's like this whole
so much sense.
They're trying to infiltrate, get young influencers on board, and like all of that.
Oh my god, that makes a lot of sense, because I was looking at some of the sponsors for some of the sporting games, and I was like, so random that person's marketing here. Like what? And also hilarious that they're going to the most obvious place, like a banner at a football stadium, because they have no idea how to talk to younger audiences. It's like, come on. I think it might be worth talking about how, because a lot of people who may not even realise or know if their parents have money that they're planning on passing down to them, because this is going to sound kind of gross, maybe a bit vulgar, but a lot of people talk about the easiest and most, I guess, the quickest way to get rich or to build wealth is to get money early on. Like the earlier that you can accumulate wealth, the faster it will grow, the more that you can then rely on things like compounding interest to like make that money grow and grow over time.
Well, when you're young, you have no money but time. And when you're older, you usually have money but no time. And those two things are key, in growing wealth.
Exactly. And so I guess the conversation comes to, as much as it maybe sounds, and this is going to sound kind of off to say this, but talking to your parents, talking to people, are they planning on giving you or leaving anything behind? Because actually it could be worth saying, like, I'm not going to go spend it on something stupid. I'll invest it straight away. But, as an example, if someone was planning on leaving you, I don't know, 50,000 when they die or whatever, if you could actually use that now to buy a house or to invest in something, it's going to catapult what you can do and the decisions that you can make earlier. I know that for my mum, she had a conversation with my grandma about this, because her generation was very much like, no, I want to leave when I die, I want to leave something to you. And it was really beautiful and such an amazing thing to even have money to be able to pass down from an inheritance standpoint. But there was my mum saying, yeah, but I feel really limited by like what I could and couldn't do. And like, I want to also show how grateful I am for what you're leaving me. Don't you want to see me using that money in a way that's like impacting my life differently? Like I know that a lot of people don't have those conversations with their family, but it is also just worth thinking about that concept of.
I think it's also important, that to be aware, like, yes, there's that side. It's also, you want to know if your parents are leaving you debt or, like, I think it's really important just to have honest conversations about your finances with your parents, what they want to spend money on. It sounds morbid, but funeral wise and all of that, making sure that you've got enough money to cover that, etc.
I mean, the debt piece is terrifying, and like, so
we've had so many stories in the Curve community of, unfortunately, people not realizing until it's too late what they've been left with. And like, yes, we're talking about positive, inheritance here, but it's interesting. My parents have saved so well throughout their lives for their retirement, but now they're not spending. And I'm like, go on
my
holiday.
My parents are doing the exact same thing.
They're like, we really want to leave you money. I'm like, I don't want your money if it means you're not enjoying the last few years of your life.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, just don't leave me in like a lot of debt. But like, I would rather you went and spent and enjoyed your last years than worry about. I'm fine. I should be able to, and I shouldn't rely on an inheritance, like it should be, I should be focusing on how I can make the most money myself to enjoy my lifestyle, not relying on them to, their inheritance. So that, for me, that's a bonus. And this sounds very morbid, but like, of course, if I've lost my parents, that's horrible. And it's, it's more, I would rather they spent their last years
enjoying their life.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I've seen the same thing in my parents, where there's this fear around spending and, they've got to this place where they've paid off their mortgage. Yeah. Luckily, like, what an amazing place to be in, where you own the house you live in. So one of your biggest expenses is not there, which is great. But then stuff that is costing them, say, $10,000 a year, they're really aware of it now because they don't have as much coming in. And I think it's that same fear that almost all of us have throughout our whole working career, where it's like, or probably our whole life in general, where you're worried about not having enough. And I think that the lack of awareness around it and also not having conversations is just going to exacerbate that anxiety for them too. Like, do they have enough to...
But it's also that the whole issue is, am I going to die tomorrow? or am I going to die when I'm
So
120?
true.
And that's what you're planning
my
for. And it's like
God.
everyone's doing it.
Oh
Everyone's
my
trying
God,
to
you're so right.
plan for their lives. And I think that's
Because
when
imagine if you were like, all right, we're off to Greece.
Yeah.
And then you live for another 20 years and
Yeah.
you're thinking it's, your
it's
last
hard
hurrah.
to plan for something.
God, that's
when
true.
The end point is unknown.
I think it's a really exciting time, the fact that there's going to be so much more money in the hands of women.
Well, I don't know if I can say this, but we're creating something to cater to this big transfer of wealth to women.
Yeah. I'm like, actually, I know now why you're nervous because
Yeah.
we actually can't give really much more than that, which is so annoying.
But
our investing club members know because we've told them, but everyone else, you're going to, do you know what? I think we actually said this earlier in the episode. Signing up to our newsletter, you'll be the first to know everything that's going on. We've got some really exciting projects, things that we've been working on for a long, long time that we can't wait to share with you. It's probably about a month away. But yeah, fear not. There are people trying to help.
to solve this problem.
Yes.
Yeah. To provide something. Yeah.
If anyone is listening to this and they see things in the news, they see them on Instagram, they see them on TikTok, whatever, people have started to send us things and ask, like, could you guys please talk about this? I'd love for this to be unpacked. We now, since we're going to be doing 2 episodes a week, we have more space and time to look into more of these stories to make sure that you're as up to date with what's going on as possible. So feel free to send any requests through. It's like a song request, but
nice.
a
Love
news
it.
request.
Yeah.
And don't forget, our Raising the Curve episode will be out this Friday, not tomorrow.
Yes.
So it is an IOU episode where we have Hannah Kumakis on again, and we're talking about side hustles. It's probably worth just saying, like, this whole wealth transfer that we've been talking about, we really need as many people to be educated, particularly women. So if you know anyone that's a bit younger, as in probably under the ages of like 28, maybe they've just finished uni, maybe you know somebody, the IOU podcast is perfect for beginners, especially anyone that's in their first job or like needing to know the basics about money, because like that really, if this is the kind of thing that I could have learned at that age, I would be in a completely different situation. So
Never too early to start.
Never too early to start, but keep an eye out for IOU on Friday. Send it to someone you think would benefit. And thank you so much for listening to our Wednesday episode.
Our first Wednesday episode.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening so you're always up to date with the latest finance and investing news.
And feel free to leave a comment to let us know what you thought about this episode, because we would love your feedback.
We've got new Curve Weekly episodes for you to listen to every Monday, but until then, listen to A Raising the Curve. These are our in-depth podcast episodes where we chat about all things money.
We're also around all week on socials if you're hungry for more Curve content, and all the links are in this podcast's show notes. We hope you have a great week, and we'll catch you for the next episode of The Curve Weekly on Monday.
Okay, quickly, The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.